impulses are being redirected. We are living in an artificially induced state of consciousness that resembles sleep. Their intention to rule rests with the annihilation of consciousness. We have been lulled into a trance. They have made us indifferent to ourselves, to others. We are focused only on our own gain. Please understand, they are safe as long as they are not discovered. Keep us asleep, keep us selfish, keep us sedated.
There's a revolution on the way. It's the 5G revolution. Although some say this will be more like an experiment that will affect billions of people. 5G stands for fifth generation mobile services. The internet will be faster than ever. Downloading a high-definition movie will take mere seconds. By 2025, the European Commission is planning for all urban areas across the continent to have seamless 5G coverage. This will enable a new age in the Internet of Things. Smart driverless cars and smart hospitals, smart fridges, coffee makers, and even baby diapers. But what citizens are not told is that for this to happen, countless new antennas will be added. In our neighborhoods, our workplaces, even in our homes. Are mobile communications dangerous? The scientific community is divided. Some experts maintain they are safe, others have serious concerns. In 2011, the WHO classified electromagnetic fields associated with cell phones as possibly carcinogenic to humans. And studies published in 2018 showed that when rats were exposed to such fields, it increased their risk of certain types of cancer. Even among those who believe the technology is safe, many admit that more studies are needed. And for 5G, there are almost no studies. Telecom companies themselves have noted that electromagnetic signals may pose health risks. So why are the EU Commission and our governments turning a blind eye? They cite guidelines established by transnational scientific bodies. But Investigate Europe has found that these bodies are closed clubs. People with dissenting opinions are not invited in. And a significant number of the scientists involved have received funding from companies with vested interests in the 5G rollout. There is no risk-free society. Other things we consume are also bad for our health, from alcohol to junk food. But if you don't want a hamburger, you can simply avoid hamburgers. With 5G, there is no opt-out.
Hello, my name is Frank Clegg, and I've spent over 40 years in the technology sector. My most recent position as a president of Microsoft Canada. In my career, I've seen the tremendous benefit that technology can provide. I've also seen the potential harm if technology is not implemented correctly. And I believe our current implementation of wireless technology is not safe. That's why I co-founded Canadians for Safe Technology and why I joined the Business Advisory Group of the Environmental Health Trust. I am especially concerned about our current implementation of 5G wireless technology. And the more research I do and the more experts I talk to, the more concerned I become. Now, there's no doubt that there are benefits such as autonomous vehicle and faster download speeds. At the same time, I think there is potential harm. I think it's important that we understand that 5G is not just an incremental number on our cell phones. In fact, over 230 scientists and researchers from 41 countries around the world have formally written to the United Nations, their member nations, and the World Health Organization, expressing their concern over the planned rollout of 5G technology, especially for vulnerable populations such as children, pregnant women, and the environmentally sensitive. They have been joined by state legislatures and federal regulators who have asked the FCC to provide evidence that there is no harm from the rollout of 5G technology. There's no doubt that the engineers and businesses and companies that roll out technology are well-meaning. However, their focus is on being first to market and getting new products into the market as efficiently and quickly as they can. I am not aware of any research or studies by my industry or related industry that deal at all with the health or safety effects of wireless technology. Here are some important facts about 5G. 5G technology has not been tested. I am not aware of a single study that shows that 5G technology is safe. 5G, as in all other wireless technology, gives off radio frequency radiation, which is absorbed in the human body and accumulates in the human body. One segment of 5G technology are millimeter waves. Millimeter waves are used by the US and Israeli government in their active denial systems, which are used for crowd control. And what they do is they provide a very painful reaction in the skin organs of the body. We have no idea what the impacts will be to human health if that kind of millimeter wave technology is used and we are exposed to it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There are significant proven health effects from wireless technology and wireless devices. These include insomnia, headaches, fatigue, heart palpitations, all caused by exposure to wireless devices and the radiation from them. More serious symptoms and conditions include heart arrhythmia, infertility, tinnitus, numbness or tingling in the extremities, diabetes, cancer, and permanent DNA damage. Mental health is also impacted, with increased anxiety, depression, rises in ADHD and autism, mood swings, and emotional instability. In fact, all of these health factors and conditions have risen exponentially over the last 30 years, and hundreds of studies that show proof of biological harm from wireless devices. Most recently, in 2018, the National Institute of Health's National Toxicology Program released the findings of a 14-year, $25 million study that showed clear evidence of harm in terms of cancer and permanent DNA damage. This study, several months later, was verified by the prestigious Ramazzini Institute out of Italy, which found the same results. Now you may ask how a product that has this potential harm could ever be released to the market and to the public for public use. Well, the way the process works is the FCC regulates all wireless devices and products associated with them. Unfortunately, the FCC is made up of previous telecom executives, lawyers, and engineers. It does not have any scientists or doctors that you would expect to be involved with the regulation of potentially harmful products. In fact, the FCC guidelines are 20 years out of date without any major significant improvement. Countries such as China, Russia, Italy, and Switzerland have safety guidelines that are 100 times safer for their citizens. The FCC guidelines are based on small, short-term, infrequent exposure. They do not worry about the accumulated effects for multiple devices. They don't measure or monitor exposure 24 hours a day or 7 days a week. And they have no special consideration for children, pregnant women, or those who have shown environmentally sensitivities to wireless radiation. In addition to the concerns about the guidelines, there is actually no oversight provided by the FCC, and in fact the telecommunications industry is self-policing. So what we are left with is almost a Wild West scenario where the regulations and the guidelines are significantly lacking and the industry is left to its own accord to roll this technology out to the marketplace. In addition to the concerns about the FCC guidelines themselves, the Federal Telecommunications Act of 1996 prohibits any telecommunication company to be sued on the basis of the safety or health of their products. So in other words, there is no liability to the telecommunications industry of any of the impacts of their products. Just last week, the reinsurer Swiss Re came out with their annual forecast, and they specifically identified 5G technology as an upcoming insurable health concern globally over the next 3 years. There is also mounting evidence that the telecommunications industry knew about the potential impacts of RF radiation years ago. And in fact, we're starting to see some of the behavior from my industry similar to what the tobacco industry did over the last few decades. The telecommunications industry has over 500 lobbyists working in Congress and other areas of legislature protecting the industry. Together, all of these issues that I've referenced, plus the general lack of awareness in the general public, have led us to the situation where we are today. So where are we today? Today we currently have a significant amount of exposure in our homes, in our businesses, in our schools, and in most public areas we go to. Cisco has announced and predicted by 2030 there will be over 500 billion wirelessly connected devices in the world. That works out to be almost 60 devices for every person on the planet. Many states and cities around the world are debating and passing legislation about the rollout of 5G technology. And in fact, what we're seeing in the US is at the federal and the state level, they're fast-tracking some of this legislation to support the rollout of 5G infrastructure. Unfortunately, this legislation seems to be taking away all individual rights and the rights of local towns and counties and cities and passing more power to the telecommunication companies. We believe this is a historic and precedent-setting power shift from the individual and state and local level over to an industry. In fact, many communities in the US and around the world are passing moratoriums preventing the rollout of 5G technology until it is proven safe. 5G will impact you personally. There are designs that show the requirement for small cell 5G antennas as close as every third house in the neighborhood and could be as close as every 500 feet in public areas. The impact of that radiation at that level of frequency and intensity and power, 24 hours a day and 7 days a week, is unprecedented and is not understood. I've spent the last 5 years of my life, I've had the opportunity to meet with experts on a worldwide basis who have spent their careers studying the impact of wireless radiation and devices. I've also had the opportunity to meet with some of the great minds in the technology sector who have helped create these tremendous products that we use in our lives and provide tremendous benefit to us. I am convinced that there are safer alternatives available so we can have the best of both worlds. Technology that can provide the tremendous benefits, but technology that is safe. There is no incentive or motivation to provide the research and the funding to look for safer alternatives. So that's why it's up to us to help encourage that investment. That can be by asking our legislators to pass legislation, encouraging industry to do it, or it can be by us directly trying to advocate for change in the industry to allow them to become more responsible to provide safer technology that still provides tremendous benefit. We can't do this all on our own. We need your help. Here's what you can do. The most important thing is to get educated. We have provided a little bit of an overview and some of the scientific evidence that shows there's a potential harm. But now you have to take the initiative. There are some tremendous websites, Canadians for Safe Technology, the Environmental Health Trust, saferemr.com, and the Physicians for Safe Technology. There are also other resources that are listed at the end of this video. We encourage you to spread the word, share this information, share the video with your coworkers, with your family, with your friends, with legislators at the state and federal level. Even your local school boards can have an impact if they choose to engage. Ultimately, your knowledge is in your power, and your power is in your hands. I fundamentally believe we can have the best of both worlds. That is access to the technology and the tremendous benefits it provides, but in a safe manner. We are advocates for safe technology, not no technology. I thank you for your time.
At the moment, 5G is a hot topic and certainly one that I cannot ignore. This channel focuses on terror attacks and events like it, but when it comes to something seriously damaging to the public, 5G and the smart grid needs to be addressed. Whilst terror attacks are being pushed through the mainstream media, the fast approaching 5G is not. Anytime it is mentioned, it's being explained under the guise of an upgrade from 4G. This is simply not the case, and I suspect by the time that people realise that, the damage will be done, so the word needs to spread fast. 5G is a fairly new topic for me, and this video is just a quick run through of my thoughts with some recommendations too, as I recognise its seriousness. 5G is in effect to be the infrastructure to allow anything to connect to everything. The official term for this is the Internet of Things. Whilst a boring sounding name, it's a purposely loose term in order to put any item under its banner, whether it be a washing machine or a jumbo jet. If it has the ability to connect to another device in a central location, it's part of the system. That system is being named the smart grid. The grid, of course, is the whole network, and not just locally but worldwide. This is how big of a scale the push is for 5G. Tom Wheeler of the FCC in America gave a speech which alerted many as to what is coming and why we should be alarmed.
The big game changer is that 5G will use much higher frequency bands than previously thought viable for mobile broadband and other applications. Such millimeter wave signals have physical properties that are both a limitation and a strength. They tend to travel best in narrow and straight lines, and they do not go through physical objects as well. But brilliant engineers have developed new antennas that can aim and amplify signals. Now, to make this work, the 5G build-out is going to be very infrastructure intensive, requiring massive deployment of small cells. I'm confident that the actions will lead to a cornucopia of unanticipated, innovative uses and will generate tens of billions of dollars in economic activity. And that's damn important, because it means that U.S. companies will be the first out of the gate. And that is why 5G is a national priority. And stay out of the way of technological development. And stay out of the way of technological development. And stay out of the way of technological development. Unlike some countries, we do not believe that we should spend the next couple of years studying what 5G should be or how it should operate. The future has a way of inventing itself. Turning innovators loose is far preferable to expecting committees and regulators to define the future. We won't wait for the standards. We're already seeing the industry gearing up to seize this opportunity. Verizon and AT&T tell us they'll begin deploying 5G trials in 2017, and the first commercial deployments they're talking about are expected in 2020. And we're not done. As part of our July 14 action, we also plan to ask for comments on opening up other high-frequency bands. Many of the high-frequency bands that we will make available for 5G currently have some satellite users, as well as some Defense Department applications, or at least the possibility of future satellite and defense users. This means sharing will be required between satellite and terrestrial wireless, an issue that is especially relevant in the 28 gigahertz band. But if anyone tells you that they know the details of what 5G is going to become, run the other way. If something can be connected, it will be connected. Hundreds of billions of microchips connected in products from pill bottles to plant waterers. We must reject the notion that the 5G future will be the sole provenance of urban areas. The 5G revolution will touch all corners of our country. A lot more antenna siting decisions by local governments and tightened our shot clock for siting application reviews. America's local governments will play an important role in determining how we fulfill this national priority. You can be sure of only one thing. The biggest Internet of Things application has yet to be imagined. Tens of billions of dollars in economic activity. And that's damn important.
If you think this is somehow limited to America, it is not. This is a worldwide issue, and a quick search for 5G will show you that. I found when driving along motorways here in the UK, the amount of cell towers seems to have increased. Whether that's because 4G has been put in place or I'm more aware of the towers now, who knows? But one thing is for sure, farmers in this country have been paid to allow these towers to be situated in their fields. What they may or may not have realised is that once the tower is there, it is there for good. What this means is, as the 5G network comes into play, not only are more towers going to be put up, but existing towers are going to have more transmitters added to them. This is why the word must be spread before people blindly accept this infrastructure, or worse still, sell out for it. The possibilities of this massive data collection is unbelievable, and when used in a negative way, situations like this occur whereby a company is effectively tracking your movements. It is widely reported, whilst often contested by the companies involved, that mobile signals and radiation is harmful to humans. There are articles like this out there, but bear in mind what 5G actually is. It's a much stronger frequency than its predecessor, and furthermore, it's going to be pumping all around your home, street and town constantly, since everything and anything is connected. There is a fantastic documentary which should be watched by everyone called Take Back Your Power. It will show how from 2008 the American population were having smart meters pushed on them by any means necessary, and that included breaking into people's homes just to fit them. It explains why this step is a significant one in the eyes of the companies and governments involved who allow this practice to be carried out. I'll put a link in the description, and should the documentary be taken down, I will upload it to YouTube. Here's a quick clip from Take Back Your Power.
The definition of a smart grid is a wireless system that will fundamentally turn every single appliance in your home into the equivalent of a transmitting cell phone. That's every computer, every television, every furnace, every air conditioner, every coffee machine, every printer, every single appliance that you have in your house will eventually, in a smart grid, have an antenna that's embedded into it that will transmit your usage data to a smart meter on the outside of your home that will then transmit your usage data to another tower receiving that usage signal that will then go to the utility company for supposedly billing purposes. Not all signals will just be about your individual use. There will be aggregate meters that will bounce signal from house to house to house within a neighborhood that will then accumulate all of the usage data that will transmit that to the utility company. Now, what that will do is that the end metering system that is transmitting all of that data will be firing an RF signal at many, many times a second, which will increase the average homeowner's radio frequency radiation exposure exponentially.
My background is that I used to work as a claims and fraud investigator for a motor insurer, but now I work in civil engineering, so the smart meter element of this infrastructure interests me. Watch this advert.
This is Gaz. Gaz is a mischievous little tyke who, before you know it, can burn an awful lot of energy. And this is Lecky. No one really knows what they get up to half the time, and together they're out of control. That's why by 2020 every home in Britain can upgrade to a smart meter to transform how you buy and use your gas and electricity. All energy suppliers will be installing smart meters at no extra cost to let you see exactly how much energy you're using in pounds and pence. Your supplier will be in touch to arrange an appointment with a trained engineer who will fit your new smart meter and show you how to get the most out of it. It's time to get Gaz and Lecky under control.
To me, it almost suggests that for as long as energy companies have been going, they truly don't know what they've been making people pay for, and now with smart meters they can accurately bill you. When you see stories like this, you might think it's nothing more than a story to scare you, but really there's truth behind this. Right now, a campaign is being run making the average person here in the UK believe that they should get a gas and electric smart meter, and in some cases believe that they have to have this by 2020. Why would that be? Well, it's simply to gather data, and after enough time has passed, they'll amend tariffs to suit them, not you. Time and time again, the public gets stung by these energy firms, so why is this time going to be any different? Think about it. The government have requested the smart meter push with the deadline of 2020. For this, the public will get a free smart meter, it will be fitted for free, and in some cases, one day of the weekend will be free for gas and electric. That's a lot of free stuff. They will come back for that, and you know they will. If for any reason you don't or can't pay, they can turn your supply off remotely since it's now on the smart grid. Remember, gas and electric are luxuries, and it saves them having to send out any letters. What many may not know is that the bigger housing developers are actually being paid by E.ON and British Gas to make sure they install smart meters in all new homes. They're being paid up to £100 per plot. Again, there's a lot of money going into this, and as Tom Wheeler said, there's a lot of money to be made too. As a bit of advice, you're not obliged to accept a smart meter. No matter what tactics the energy firm try and use, simply say no. Please bear in mind that your existing meter belongs to them. They are expected to inspect meters every 2 years to make sure they are safe. This is also one of their tactics, to try and make you believe that yours needs to be upgraded on health and safety grounds. In this case, pay to get them independently inspected and obtain a certificate from an approved engineer. This can be used as evidence against such tactics. Going back to 5G in general, if 5G was just a standard upgrade with no negative connotations, why would they try and disguise the masts? Here's one in Macclesfield disguised as a pine tree. Now I've just come back from Cape Verde and they've built them as palm trees. Another observation I have relates to people who suffer from the effects of electromagnetic waves and symptoms of the like. A TV show called Better Call Saul has a character who suffers from these effects. Regardless of the plotline, which questions whether he's making it up, he's made out to be an oddball who wears tinfoil as he attempts to shield himself. For me, this is conditioning for when people really feel the effects of 5G, so anyone who suffers that will just be disregarded and go untreated. We need to get the message out there and get people looking into this for themselves to get educated on the subject before a tower pops up outside their home. Whilst only minor steps at this stage, I've put an advert in my local magazine which goes out to about 800 houses in my area. This advert was £100 for a year for a magazine that's issued for free once a month. Since everything's going towards just being data, money is a major factor too. Somewhat as a New Year's resolution, I'm going to consciously avoid using chip and pin and contactless. The more as we, the public, use such things, the more closer the powers that be are to having a cashless society. Think of the impact that will have whereby, just like your energy firm, they can cut you off in an instant, your money can be managed in the same way. Whilst paper money is worthless, and that's a whole different topic, how will the homeless handle a cashless society? Self-employed workers who deal in cash 9 times out of 10 pocket a little extra for themselves, and in many cases it's to make sure they make ends meet. Companies will only get richer, with the poorer being worse off. Terror attacks are to control people physically and mentally. 5G and the smart grid is to control the population in every other way in their daily life. Another step I've taken was to go halves on buying 225 of these pens, which I've been handing out to work colleagues, giving to friends and family, and even leaving them in restaurants. If you want some, message me via email. We do have to do something.
It's important to understand what the 5G is doing and what they say it's doing. We're told on the IEEE beamforming document that this technology cooked your eyes like eggs in World War II. And you all need to understand these are military weapons. These are assault frequencies. If you garner nothing more than that, that's what you need to know. It's microwave radiation warfare, is what this is.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming to the National Press Club Federal Communications Commission Chairman Tom Wheeler.
It's an honor to be here at the National Press Club. The first generation wireless, 1G, was voice. The second generation, 2G, allowed both talk and text. The third generation, 3G, the internet, in a limited way. And today's technology, 4G, completed that digital migration. But if anyone tells you that they know the details of what 5G is going to become, run the other way.
This video is brought to you by the number 5 and the letter G. And pretty soon, everything else will be too.
I have to tell people 5G is a killer. I'm Mark Steele. Anybody who hasn't heard me, I'm a weapons systems head-up display expert, one of the leading experts in the world. I've actually brought cover in relation to this, and the reason I became an expert was because I invented them. What I'm going to say to you today, do not believe a single word I say. Not one. I want you to do your own research. You'll find it's absolutely terrifying. You got your body covered? Aye. Oh, good lad. Right, because I can talk to that. This 5G rollout is a weapons system. I've got a letter with central government because I know about weapons systems more than anything other.
In Britain, in a place in the north of England called Gateshead, a scientist there called Mark Steele has been very publicly and actively warning people about the effects of LED streetlights, which he says in Gateshead are emitting now 5G.
Right, what's the crack?
Hey lads, I'm just having a word with these Gateshead council workers about replacing these transmitters on these lights that are causing harm and assaulting the community. This is an existential threat to the economy, to the environment and humanity.
If these transmitters are everywhere, then everyone's at risk, surely.
There's a lot of confusion about what 5G is. The G stands for generation. So you started off with the first transmitter system.
Back in the 1980s.
In the 80s, yeah. So you had 1G, then you had 2G. And as the generations moved on, you started to see more complex signal systems, cleverer pieces of antenna designs, etc., etc. So the whole thing became more data, quicker downloads, etc., etc. However, 5G is something completely different. Alright, let's get a breakdown. Let's tell the people what this really is. This is the 5G transmission device. That's a hell of a beast, that, isn't it? These are the uninsurable transmitters. Just get a good look at that, guys, because obviously I know there's quite a few experts who want to see more detail about the transmitters and the chipsets. Just have a good look, boys. This is the control management system masquerade. There's an antenna there, you see that? What is this phased array antenna here? What's that? This is for phased array, alright? As you'll see, it's got a driver, it's got some chip there. It's one chip. Look at the chipsets on this. This is your dystopian world. What did Gateshead Council say? I'll tell you what, I think we better send some of these educated fools back to school, or just send them to prison. Whichever's the easiest. I think prison's probably better. Alright, that's 5G, guys. That's 5G hardware.
You must consider the whole part played by electricity in nature. Human beings cannot go on developing in the same way in an atmosphere permeated on all sides by electric currents and radiations. It has an influence on the whole development of man. This life of men in the midst of electricity, notably radiant electricity, will presently affect them in such a way that they will no longer be able to understand the news which they receive so rapidly. The effect is to damp down their intelligence. Such effects are already seen today. Even today, you can notice how people understand the things that come to them with far greater difficulty than they did a few decades ago. Rudolf Steiner, 1924. Rudolf Steiner noted that in 1924, since then our atmosphere has become far more permeated with electric waves of widely diverse types. There's no doubt now that electric waves, electromagnetic forces, cause direct biological effects. There's thousands of peer-reviewed papers on this subject. There's no doubt about it. But what are these effects? How are they affecting us? What can we do about it? We're now at a stage where we're putting in what's called 5G, which is a special type of broadcast for high-density information transfers. And it turns out that this is the same frequency bands that are used in crowd dispersal weaponry.
5G, first and foremost, is densification. So it's significantly more transmitters in close proximity to a human, and it is also a sophisticated, illegal, unlawful transmitter. What I mean by that is it is a high gain dielectric lens antenna, and what that allows 5G transmitters to do is to 3D map its environment in your home. The 868 megahertz frequency is specific for battlefield interrogation systems, so sub-gigahertz It allows the signal to travel through concrete brickwork with ease, and it can actually data gather. It is a target acquiring system. Phased array is basically radar off the battlefield. It is extremely good at identifying targets and being able to lock onto targets. And not only that, it can specifically target you as an individual. So any judge sitting on an interesting case, let's say, any lawyer, any barrister, anybody doing any work that is potentially controversial, your life could be at threat. So the antenna design that you currently have on top of these LED streetlights, masquerading as a control management system, it basically battlefield interrogation equipment. The first phased array unit was actually called Mammoth, used by the Germans during the Second World War to identify Allied aircraft. Obviously things have moved on significantly since then.
Well, I joined the Royal Navy in 1960, and I specialised in microwave warfare. Radar, obviously, which uses microwave, but they don't just teach you radar, they teach you all about microwaves and other uses. So I understood about microwave warfare and how it can damage people, how it can harm people. Microwaves then were used as weapons, as they are today. It is a perfect stealth weapon, and when governments don't like a group of people, for instance, the ladies who protest at Greenham Common in England about the American missile base they camped, they were microwaved. We microwaved Catholics in Northern Ireland to make them sick. It goes on all over the world, and it's a weapon that you don't know you're being targeted, because the dose is very, very low, which is actually more dangerous than a high dose. It's very, very low, and it may take a year or two, but you can cause neurological damage and cancers with low-level microwaves, and you can make all your opponents sick. It's a perfect weapon for a government.
Our impulses are being redirected. We are living in an artificially induced state of consciousness that resembles sleep. Their intention to rule rests with the annihilation of consciousness. We have been lulled into a trance. They have made us indifferent to ourselves, to others. We are focused only on our own gain. Please understand, they are safe as long as they are not discovered. Keep us asleep, keep us selfish, keep us sedated.
Almost immediately, I had neighbours knocking on the door, talking about children bleeding from the nose. I had images posted on Facebook. And one neighbour in particular came to my door and mentioned the fact that since the LED street lighting had been installed, she was bleeding from the nose every single night. I thought it was unbelievable. However, I spoke to another neighbour who lived not far from the first lady who mentioned this, and she also confirmed that since the LED street lighting had been installed, she also had started to develop nosebleeds and had never had nosebleeds before in her life. That then put me on a journey to investigate. I measured microwave radiation levels from the transmitters on top of the LED streetlights. The basic 868 megahertz, it was significantly higher than the current Council of Europe 1815 resolution, which is a maximum of 600 millivolts. I've measured up to over 3,000 millivolts.
5 to 6 times higher than the guidelines.
Significantly higher than the current Council of Europe 1815 resolution, which states that 200 millivolts should be the maximum. The Bioinitiative report states that it should be significantly less than that. So we've got the Council of Europe, that's, you know, the International Criminal Courts are stating that, you know, the learned judges have said that 200 millivolts, and I'm measuring in bedrooms in Gateshead, minimum minimum 600 and up to 4,000.
Does this mean that in 2020, 2021, when 5G is destined to roll out globally, that you're going to get those kind of readings everywhere all the time?
Everywhere all the time.
Worse than that?
Worse than that.
Yes, 5G will connect the Internet of everything. If something can be connected, it will be connected in the 5G world. Hundreds of billions of microchips connected in products from pill bottles to plant waterers, requiring massive deployment of small cells. We won't wait for the standards. Now, to make this work, the 5G build-out is going to be very infrastructure intensive. We must reject the notion that the 5G future will be the sole provenance of urban areas. The 5G revolution will touch all corners, and that's damn important. The interconnected world of the future will be the result of decisions we must make today.
The main issue before us today is Senate Bill 637 and Senate Bill 894, the former by Senator Hugh and the latter by Senator Knopf. We're going to invite the first four witnesses in support of the legislation, and that would be John Jones with Sprint, David Lewis and Andy Emerson with AT&T, Neil Krevda with Verizon, and Frank Iacovetti Jr. with T-Mobile.
So be straight with me. Is it true?
It could be. No,
well,
come
very,
on,
very
no
few cases.
Proof
There
at
was
all.
an unfortunate
It's really a
incident out in
complicated
Iowa.
situation.
Look, gentlemen, practice these words in front of the mirror. Although we are constantly exploring the subject, currently there is no direct evidence that links cell phone usage to brain cancer.